frontline. The EU is responding with biggest ever winter aid package that discovers emergency equipment, funding and energy deliveries. Just today we provided an extra 500 generators and €50 million for energy support. Overall, our energy fund has surpassed €1.6 billion. But this is not enough, as the images from Ukraine show us every day. This is why we are also proposing a task force with the teams in Brussels and Kiev to better coordinate energy support. Member states must also dig deeper into their air defense stocks. In parallel, we increase pressure on Russia. The EU today blacklisted Russia for risk of money laundering. This will slow down and increase the costs of transactions with Russian banks. Work is also advancing on the 90 billion loan and the 20th sanctions package. Any measure that limits Russia's war funding must be on the table. There's also a proposal to ban Russian ex-combatants from entering into Schengen. It's a security risk. Planning also continues on the EU's contributions to the security guarantees, from expanding training to Ukrainian territory to accession and defence industry support. EU will be there. Accountability remains essential. Last week, the EU allocated the first €10 million to help set up a special tribunal for the crime of aggression. Russia started this war, and Russia must be held accountable for it. Then also with the United Nations, High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, we also discussed about accountability, that accountability is essential for any peace. Ministers had a very good discussion on human rights accountability and vital work of the United Nations. In Iran, horrific crackdown on protesters has come at a heavy human cost. The EU already has sweeping sanctions in place, and today ministers agreed to designate Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. This will put them on the same footing with Daesh, Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda. Those who operate through terror must be treated as terrorists. Ministers also imposed sanctions on those responsible for the brutal crackdown of protests, including the Minister of Interior. Repression cannot go unanswered. Beyond this, ministers adopted new sanctions on those involved in Iran's war support to Russia and expanded export controls. Ministers were clear that Iran must release all those unjustly detained, including the European Union citizens. Going forward, we must be ready to further increase pressure on the authorities and continue supporting Iran's civil society. Then on Syria, Syria remains fragile. The ceasefire and the opening of humanitarian corridors are positive developments, but the country is far from stable. ISIS poses a persistent threat, and overall ministers stressed that the inclusive political transition and national reconciliation are the best path to prevent Syria from sliding back into chaos. On Gaza, our focus is on supporting the peace plan. The overdue reopening of the Rafah crossing point between Gaza and Egypt will be the clearest sign of progress yet. Our EU personnel is ready to redeploy. Our EUPOL COPS mission can play a key role in training Palestinian police and justice institutions. We are moving ahead with expanding EU training activities into Jordan. Ultimately, the security of Gaza must lie in the hands of Palestinians. Ministers also discussed how to engage and support Gaza's new governance structures. As we know, Gaza's reconstruction will depend on Hamas demilitarization. Then Sudan remains the world's worst humanitarian crisis. In response to the escalating violence, ministers adopted new sanctions against the members of the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese armed forces. These measures alone will not end the war, but they will raise the cost for those responsible. And finally, on the Great Lakes region, ministers discussed how EU can intensify diplomatic engagement, scale up humanitarian assistance, and better support the regional stabilization efforts. We must be ready to consider further measures according to the events on the ground. And with that, I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, High Representative. We move to your questions. First question goes to Max, AFP. Get the mic. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, HRVP. Max Delaney for AFP. You've just taken the decision to designate the Iran Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist. Does this mean that the EU would back Donald Trump striking the regime in Tehran with his armada? Thank you.
This decision means that if we list them as a terrorist organization, then many member states have criminalized any activity or interaction with the terrorist organization. So that puts more pressure on this. When it comes to attacks, then I think the region does not need a new war.
Thank you. We move on the second row. Tatiana, yes.
Thank you very much. Tatiana Vysotska, European Pravda, Ukraine. Today the ministers were supposed to talk about the security guarantees for Ukraine and the prosperity plan. And as we know, one of the best security guarantees is the membership of Ukraine in the European Union. And now there are a lot of discussions concerning the date, the year when this accession is possible. There are a lot of talks around 2027 as the accession year. Do you think it is possible for Ukraine to join the EU in 2027? If not, then when? And recently, Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, he said that there is some secret document where 2027 goal is mentioned, and he was criticizing that widely. Is this document really exist? Can you tell? Is it a prosperity plan, maybe? Thank you so much.
Thank you. What is clear is that Ukraine's future lies in the European Union. So we are working on this, the process of joining European Union. But I also want to stress that enlargement is a geopolitical choice in this geopolitical world, what we have right now. I think it's good to be the region where, countries want to join us voluntarily, by the way. And there are many of those. But we also need to deliver on this. I think we need to see in coming years really development and new countries joining to make us also stronger on the geopolitical sphere. Thank you.
Valentina, over there? Yes? Yes?